and welcome back to another episode of Making a Difference in Mental Health. I'm your host, Danielle.
I'm your co-host, Wendy.
And we have two very special guests here. We have Miguel and Manuel Suaro, but we know them as just Manny and Miguel, and we're excited to have you all today.
Thank you guys for coming. And for the audience that don't know that, these are siblings. These are twins.
Yes.
And who's older?
I am. I'm actually older by a minute.
Wow. That's so cool.
I never knew that they were, I knew you guys were brothers, but I never put it together.
Is that the twin factor?
Yeah.
And then, twin power.
I know. And then working at, well, you can get into who you guys are, but you all work at different offices with ABH, but at different offices, right? Right.
So my name is Manuel Suaro. I'm a therapeutic mentor here at ABH, and I work for the K-Dessert office in Malta.
And I'm Miguel Suaro. I'm here at Greenbelt. Our local side, I've been here for roughly 3 years now.
Okay.
Working as GMY side, and also the last year and a half, I've been working for GMY, which is like the adult program of GMY.
So you guys break it down a little bit, because we got our audience; they don't always know clinical jargon. So what exactly is a therapeutic mentor?
So a therapeutic mentor, what we basically do, we come prepared with essential skills that we pass along to our children. We call our children, but mostly our clients. We just help them enhance those goals and skills on area that they need, whether that's social skills, whether that anger management, learning how to cope with certain trauma. So we work with you guys along with the clinician team, and they're along with the child therapists and the family closely to be able to provide that support that is not given out of school and is also not provided sometimes within the school system.
And so Miguel, he works here in the Greenbelt office, and Manny, you work in which office? And tell us, like, maybe what you do as well. I know you all kind of have the same position, but from your perspective,
I like some activities.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I work at the Montgomery County office in Gettysburg, and same position as Miggy does. I would like to call myself an extra support system of the family and the client itself. So those skills that they normally don't get to work on and practice on hand in hand with the therapist or with the clinician themselves, or even at school, as Miggy was saying, we get to practice those and learn not only from us, but also from other kids. The program is it's a community-based program, a group program that we work with not only the kids one-on-one, but also the other kids that are going through some of those similar things that they may be going to or have some of those issues. Obviously, all the things we work on are related goals to their diagnosis. And we try to, apart from showing them and teaching them skills, we try to provide them with the community resources and outlets that they may not know are within their area, and pretty much build on those independent living skills.
Yeah, and what I do know is that some of my clients that do have the mentors, they really like you guys. Like, I'm meeting with my mentor today, or I just met with my mentor.
Right?
Yes, like sometimes it's more, they engage more, I feel, than they do in therapy. So it is essential. You guys are, a big support to us too, because it kind of gets the kids a little bit out of their shell. Sometimes they're even able to come to therapy to talk about their experiences and time with you all, as well. Sometimes it's like with a group of kids, so they don't feel alone.
I think I also love that too. You guys do homework club, you go on field trips in the community, you do community service, do art projects, all sorts of things.
Yes, it's like we would like to call it the fun side of therapy, because not only are we working on those treatment plan goals related to their diagnosis, but we also doing interactive activities like the ones you just mentioned. Field trip, we go to the rec center, we go to the park, different things that kids enjoy doing on their own, and then we try to incorporate our life lessons and our skills that we're teaching them in a way to make them think about it, other than just, I'm just meeting with another therapist or another clinician.
Right, yeah.
And even more as well, just picking up from Manny, like we also kind of like work with, especially those Hispanic, we're bilingual, so we mostly, communicate with better, we especially Spanish speaker family. So they tend to be more leaning towards like that resources like guidance or like where do I need to go in order for my kid to find this book or my kid to get his laptop. Like there's like things such as like where do I go to fix my kid's computer? Okay, let me give that school a little call,
Right.
and then we figure it out.
Right.
But it's mostly connecting them to not just community resources, but also within the research that they already have, but they don't know how to like kind of like get that step in it.
Yeah, I like that aspect of just having an additional like layer, being bilingual and being able to communicate with some of our populations and demographics, but that might have Spanish as their first language versus it being their second, versus it being their first
certain
language.
barriers,
Yeah. So that's good.
It's an absolutely needed service. I'm so happy ABH promotes it, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to get into why we all are here today, but thank you, Manny and Miguel, for just kind of describing what you guys do and highlighting our PRP program, our mentor program here at ABH. And we really want to talk about the topic of bullying. And Danielle and I were thinking, topics for this season. This one was right at the top of our list because it's so prevalent in school, it's prevalent in social media. And since you guys work with kids and teens, we wanted to get a feel for, ear to the street. What's happening? What are people talking about? What are kids talking about in terms of bullying? Does that come up a lot in your work?
Surprisingly, it does a lot more than you would think so. And it ranges from all ages, middle schoolers, elementary schoolers, high schoolers. It's just all different type of bullying, I would say. But it does come up because in this day and age with the kids and everything, they tend to want to be better than the other one, and they tend to not only look at themselves but others also look at others and social media, which we'll probably get into it later on. Some of those things that affect the day-to-day aspect and thinking of a kid, I would say.
Yeah. Yes, it's definitely it's coming along every single day. I would say. More likely, I feel bullying is a topic that not a topic, but an issue that is becoming more into like our daily life. It's integrated. I graduated 2015 from high school. If you look, and no, but
These are my children.
These are little brothers, I guess.
So-
Sorry.
it's being integrated more like so that they think it's normal.
Right.
Or a child think that it's not a normal thing to go through. It's normal for them. So that's not what I learned when I was in school.
Yes.
It was not normal.
And that's kind of leading into our next question, but I kind of want to tap into, you mentioned something about social media and it being daily. Imagine how kids are always on social media, right?
Yes.
And Wendy and I, before we started recording and before you guys got here, we were just kind of I was just letting her know about some things that are going on at the school, and it's so appropriate today to talk about bullying. I do work for a school, and we're starting to see, not that it's new, but it's like you said, every day where now they're posting pictures of just like random incidents at the school. And it's like this, we don't know who the person who's holding the profile, but all the students, they're finding themselves on these pages. And then the comments underneath, we have the cyberbullying, or that causes, we're constantly getting people coming into my office for some type of management or peer mediation. So, just to touch on that, in the therapeutic practice, we're actually starting to see where teens, some of our kids don't necessarily want to resolve the conflict. And we've also seen this shift since COVID. Considering the kids had been home pretty much for 2 years, right? Virtually. So that's how they communicated, and even maybe cyberbullying increased. And now they're back. And so post-COVID, what are you guys seeing when it comes to either, bullying or challenges with resolving, some of the issues?
Since it's an everyday.
COVID did its number, I would say, on everybody.
Yes.
Especially the kids, just being behind a computer, taking classes, being at home, not really being able to get that socialization that they're used to. It really like built a lot of issues for kids. I would say a lot of self-esteem issues, a lot of like lack of confidence. Even those kids who were confident within themselves, just like being behind the camera, not being able to turn on the camera because or being behind the laptop, not being able to turn on the camera because they didn't know who was looking at them or what they said that they were doing. So a lot of I would say a lot of the issues have amplified since COVID, and then it's just a result of what we were saying just earlier. Like kids have become desensitized to bullying, where they before when we were in school, you know, if somebody posted something about somebody online, that was like a huge deal. Everybody was talking about it. I would say today is still the same way because kids have more access to it, but it's just like, no, that's important, or even the faculty within the school doesn't make it a big of an issue, and then that's when things get trickled down and it becomes more of a personal thing and things of that nature.
You see, with you also, you can go ahead and comment, but I want you also to think about this type of kid. Go ahead. Any specific type of kid.
So, mostly my family that are struggling most with bullying is again my Spanish speaking family. I want to say it's due to them not being able to 100% invest and know what is going on with their child. That could be due to a language barrier, culture barrier. That could be to a numerous sets of
like
things.
economics, like
economic, yes, because believe it or not, we still have those parents that they're still caring, they still what is going on, why is my kid getting hit every single day. I even had some issues in school where they actually try to like just hide everything with one finger and be like, oh, nothing is happening, and that's not right, because it's happening every single day, every single time. It feels like they don't know what to do, and it's like they're running out of options, and now it's just like we're brushing it off. So that's why I feel more accustomed for the kids to like experience this and kind of not know what to do about it. And yes, you do have those family that care and trying to provide that support, and those family who might have like the aggressor or the bullier in their family. It's like they're not doing anything about it. I think that's okay as well. So I feel it's just a huge barrier when it comes to the home and school or the community. But I will want to going back to your question. Poor families, obviously. There's still a lot of our families that still haven't recovered since pandemic, believe it or not. We're still having family depend on like getting vouchers from like food that are like giving away, food, and even myself, sometimes I pick some of those vouchers up and like try to drop it off, but you're dealing with low economic family, and it's even more greater now. Now we're dealing more so on like the teenager side, social media. I like to go back to like my old, So I didn't have a phone till junior year in high school, and kids are having this
elementary school, right?
So I feel that just putting that just putting us in more of it. We had to find some changes in terms of like, okay, now it used to be physically, now it's going towards cyber, and it's just like a huge turnaround post pandemic.
Right, and the physical is becoming more violent.
Even more violent. Oof.
Yes, and like just speaking back on what he said, right? So like the kids they're getting these electronics devices at a young age, and they're being exposed to a lot more things that we were exposed during our age. So the societal pressure, not only from within the school, but also the social media, where because you might be a person, you might be somebody in person, but you may have, I want to say, 2,000, 3,000 followers online, and then you're considered some type of influencer or some type of famous people, even within your school and things like that. So like the societal pressure that just comes from outside the school and like online is specifically from kids just wanting to be like the best model, wanting to be like the best influencer, and it's just like it's good, but it's not all that great because kids are only looking up to all these people that seem to have a perfect life,
Right.
and these are kids that have low self-esteem, deal with some sort of depression, don't have the proper support at home because mom is working or dad is always working, and they cannot always be there to ask them, what is going on, what is it, and it just builds in, and then sometimes that kid is the bully, like Miguel was saying, and sometimes that's the kid that gets bullied because he lacks those self-esteem and those communication skills. Because at the end of the day, I mean, to be honest, like our school are overwhelmed with the things that are going.
Super overwhelmed.
They're overwhelmed.
Yes.
With the things that are
Danielle,
going
you
on.
can speak to that too. Yeah.
Right. So I'm
She's
in the
there
community
every
schools
day.
program, and so again with social media, this idea, like you said, of
the likes.
yeah. So a friend of mine used to say about your social currency, meaning 3,000 followers or up, you have more value than the kid who only has like maybe 30 followers. And then that, and it's so insignificant maybe to us because we're adults and like there's more to life than a click or a like or, how many followers that you have. But to our children, again, it establishes who they are. And then another thing, as we were talking about COVID, before we move on to our next question, because I mean, this is really good. This is a really good conversation. Is that Wendy and I often talk about it'll be so interesting to study this cohort of children who had 2 years of a detachment and an isolation from socialization, right? And so imagine if you are in 8th grade now, you missed 2 years, those formative years of 6th and 7th grade, where you learn social skills, where you begin to have your peer groups and they're solidified. You know who your best friend is. You know who you know how to handle situations where if it's not in your best interest, you've learned the skills to be assertive, to be responsible, to be accountable. But you've been online for 2 years. You've never really had to face those social challenges.
Right.
And then you go back to school 2 years later, even though you're 14 years old or 13 years old, you still haven't developed through those 2 years. So it's kind of like you're still 11 in a sense. Right, right.
It's having like a 6th grader or a 5th grader think like a 8th grader soon to be a high schooler. The kids are not mentally there yet. So those responsibilities that come even within the house or outside the house from society, they're not there yet. And social media and all the other things that have an impact on them doesn't do anything. It doesn't help them much.
Yeah.
And a lot of you need to think also that a lot of that population during those 2 years, you also have kids, they're going through puberty, and that's also have a huge impact in terms of like their development, and like they're always just home during that time, and now they're exposed to, I want to say that the open light, and now we see a lot of changes within our side. We see a lot of changes within our teen and financial thing. So in order, it's just a little bit of everything that carry on in terms of the way they think, the power that they have on social media, and even so, their mental capability to understand this aspect. I feel like soon enough we're gonna have to have a bullying class within the school system, not just like outside, having the therapy, but one really
integrated
into one really good thing I saw was we have social skills in some of the school as I like a class. So I was like, hey, maybe these type of skills are not gonna have to be in school. That way we know for sure instead of like trying to because once our parents are not being educated, and we're gonna also like
That's a that's a whole nother
another
issue.
show.
That's another
We're
show with
yeah.
the challenges with education and psychoeducation for parents and for them to understand. And then you all talk about the cultural layer as well. And really quickly, I mean, again, we're gonna move on to the next question, but also the school that I work at is a French immersion school. So many of the students and the teachers they come from African countries, of course, countries that were colonized by Europe. But many of the African countries, have French speaking in their home. Right, the language is their first language is French, but also their customs and their culture and socialization is different. So on my end, where you all have really talked about the Latin community, so the African and the Caribbean community, they also don't really either understand, or their first go-to is not therapy, for their kid for bullying, but it might be like religion, or it might be like, oh, we'll pray, or we'll keep it to ourselves. And every time you see the kid, especially a kid who is being bullied, not necessarily the bullier, but you can see the self-esteem just continue to kind of go down. So I like how you said putting an initiative in school, to talk about bullying in the social skills class.
That is a great
idea.
Great idea. And so along those lines, we're just curious, how do you guys handle it in your work? Like in your group work with the kids who bring up bullying? Do you have curriculum around it here, or how do you guys handle it?
It varies, because I've had instances where I've had the bullier and I had the kid that is being bullied.
Talk a little bit about that. That's
Interesting, right? So from the kid that is being the bully, right? Obviously, open conversation is the best way to approach it. Like providing the safe space for the kid just to open up about the things and the struggles that he's having, whether there's issues with a particular kid in general, whether there's issues with self-esteem or communication, right? There's some type of barrier that is leading to this kid being picked on, or being singled out by whether it's a teacher at times, or there is another student, or even a friend, because a lot of the times, your closest friends are the ones that are being the most critical of you. So just having that open space for them to open up, and then depending on how that he reports to it or she reports to it, then we try and incorporate the family. Like, does mom knows about this? Have you tried to advocate for yourself at school, talking to your teachers, talking to the counselor? What can we do to make the situation better? And 9 times out of 10, the kid has been able to not only advocate for himself, but kind of like, I would say, like, stand up for himself. Put an end to it, because a lot of the things is just lacking the proper communication skills, or the proper social skills to be able to understand that what's happening to you is not normal, and you should have been the one enduring those comments, or somebody taking your hat and throwing it out the window or the bus because they thought your hat was not cool enough, and things of that nature.
I like how you hit upon social skills. We keep doubling back to the lack of social skills.
That's huge impact.
Foundation for all these issues. Go ahead.
And social skills is like a huge impact. It's not like, that's what our PRP program is about. But after pandemic, we realized that, hey, the PRP is gonna be great for them coming out of pandemic. But I had incident where not incident, but more like cases where I know a kid who's being bullied, one of my kids being bullied in school. A lot of has to do more so of like educating themselves. They were never properly educated in terms of hey, what should you do if this happened to you? Who should you go talk to? There's a lot of pressure on them. Famous word, you snitch.
We just talked about that before we recorded about, not wanting to be the snitch. I know who did it, but I'm not saying anything. And
So famous word. No, I had an incident. One of my kids was just using the restroom, and then because another kid told another kid to his head against the toilet or whatever. They went and did it just because they want to be popular. They want to be
get accepted.
Get like that reward, and then it's a negative, it's a negative habit that these kids are having within the community and the school. But I had kids that told me straight up, hey, I didn't even tell my mom because they're gonna kill me a snitch in school, or didn't tell my dad because he gonna try to go to the school. But it's more so of like Manny said, giving them that space, providing that support. Believe it or not, I had kids that had told me things and relate more to the mentor than even the therapist itself, or the mom.
We hear that.
Yeah, we get that sometimes.
And it's amazing when you can see when they're able to talk about something and they are able to find that support system within that same amount of kids that we're seeing. So because we do group sessions, so you it's beautiful to see how like they bang each other, they banging each other, and they learn from each other, and then they even like give each other tips. They're like, oh nah, Mr. Mickey told me that we should do this if like something happens in school, like, oh no, but I had other kids tell me like, uh, I don't care, I'm not gonna go to a teacher, I'm just gonna like be the aggressor right back, like just like take it out on them. So there's a huge I wouldn't say like misconception in like that way they approaching to be able to like fix this issue. So I want to just say like if there was like a one-on-one like
yes, because like I'm telling you, you're touching on right now. You're touching on a lot of things that I deal with at the school that I work with, and not that they're. So I'll say it this way.
And I'm not even in the school system. I'm just talking from what I see from because if I could be in with, trust me, I would spend my whole life. But I wish I wish that we had like a better like option for us to like go in at least for like those high risk kids for and then but
so I want to say a lot of times too with the children, and I'll say this, that it's might not be all of the children, but it might be like the same five kids that you constantly have to kind of reiterate or redirect or kind of reinforce. Look, this is what you should do, and I'm actually talking about the bullier now. And so a lot of times when you hear that, well, I'm still gonna defend myself. That behavior is learned. So if you're learned or you're conditioned, or if you hear mama or daddy say like,
somebody
you defend yourself, and if you don't, then I'm gonna, we depending on what culture, what background you're from, you might hear that like, well, did you beat them? Like or right.
Don't let them touch you.
Exactly. So I mean, we honestly could talk about this a lot, but I do like the fact that in your groups that you have, it made me smile to hear you say that the kids are like, wait, no. Well, Mr. Mickey said you could do this, or that. And, they're using the skills, right? Yeah. And so that is actually good to know. So when we're talking about using skills, is there something like for our audience, like what if we have parents watching, right? Or what if we have some kids that are watching that want to know some effective ways to, either combat or kind of, circumvent the bullying? What are some things that you can let our audience know that are effective, that actually work?
Well, going back a little bit to what you said about the bullier, right? So from what I noticed, a lot of the times that the kid that is being the bullier or the bully himself, a lot of times he lacks empathy or lacks feelings of emotions or has struggles expressing those emotions when he gets frustrated. And it could be from different things, right? Things going on at home, things going on at school, not liking a teacher, or the girl that he likes not liking her back, and then he displays those feelings by aggressing somebody or picking on somebody, right? So for those kids, like Mickey said, thank God we have the opportunity to have one-on-one sessions and group sessions where not only can the kids learn from us, but they can also learn from their peers that are going through some of those similar things. A lot of the time it's just like kind of making them think and making them view themselves outside of their own selves.
Right.
So like thinking like, okay, so how would you feel, if I was to come and do this to you, or how would you feel if somebody was doing that to a significant other of yours, your mom, your dad, or even your sister, making them think outside of the box, and providing them with different options and different way of thinking, that you're not on this by yourself. Whatever anger you have, or whatever lack of self-esteem you may have, you're not the only one going through those things. I lack of some self-esteem. Everybody else has their own struggles. So just making them know and understand that it's normal things that going on. Just because you didn't get what you wanted, or just because your friend didn't like the outfit you were wearing, it's not going to be the end of the world, right?
Exactly.
A lot of the times, these are like approval things that they're looking for, and it's like you can give your own, you can be your own self-satisfaction. You can be your own approval. As long as you're feeling okay with the things you're doing and how you're going about things, it should be fine. And then it comes from teaching them how to have empathy for others,
Right.
how to not only think about themselves but think about others in the process of doing so. Like I always tell my kids, think about the greater good. Is what you're doing, is it only going to benefit you, or is it going to benefit everybody else in the group? Because a lot of the times, as kids, we want to be first in everything. We want to have the first say in the decision making. So competition, right? So think about the greater good, and just instead of just like thinking about yourself, and providing that space for them again to be able to see that that's a working thing. It's okay for you not to be first. It's okay for you not to always get what you want, because sometimes we deserve what we want, but we don't even get it. So it's like, how can we manage it? How can we deal with those things?
I like that, teaching empathy.
Yeah.
In the greater good.
Kindness, a lot of kindness to.
Yes.
I mean, it depends. The way I try to kind of maneuver my kids around is by like example. So like they reflect a lot on what they see, the way I try to like redirect in the way I move. And I'm not strict at all. I'm not strict, but they can see the difference between like when I know for sure what's going on, and they can see a difference between when it's like the mom or dad talking to them, because they might not be educated, like I said. They can see the difference between like, oh, like he knows what he's talking about. I mean, it depends. It depends. But I often have to do a lot of kindness work within just a simple activity where like I have them draw, like, hey, like just express yourself, express your mind. They come together, and they also try to. I can see when something is happening. I like to stop everything and kind of like redirect at the moment, and I make them learn from each other at that moment. That's how I like to do. That's how they learn the best. I would say at the moment
in a group
setting, when you have to stop everything you're doing and be like, hey, no, Papa, like this. I was like, so I try to connect, because I'm gonna hold you. I have a bully. I have a bully in my caseload, and a lot of that work. He's an excellent student, perfect grades, but shows a lot of aggression behind it when nobody's looking, and that's the type of we believe is due to hand pandemic, being isolated.
Again, it just
He's
circles right back around.
He's the only child.
Okay.
Mostly at home with mom, or not. He doesn't have somebody to look up, but they can see those changes once he meets with me, once he become honest. Sometimes he even cries telling me the stuff he does. So it's kind of like educating them as they go, little by little, because growing up, that the responsibility that they gave us, the way they raised us, was a little bit different than what all these issues, the social issues.
I mean, I know for me it was a lot different, and then for Wendy too.
I
didn't get my first.
We have phones.
We didn't have cell phones.
We were outside. We played.
That's the thing. We played outside. Like we played outside. We came home when the street lights came on. I didn't have my first cell phone when cell phones were like popping and like big until I was in college. And so I tell my second graders, like, hey, can you imagine getting a phone, having to wait till you're 19 to get a phone? They're like, what? You know, or they can't.
You gotta use the payphone.
Or
You
pay
gotta pay
35 cents or 50 cents into the
I am
payphone, and
dating myself.
all of these things. I'm enjoying the conversation. Teaching empathy is really good. Redirection, showing kindness, and
doing it group wise. Like I always say to my therapist, it's more effective with kids in middle, even elementary, to do it in a group as opposed to one-on-one, just because of where they are.
Yeah, everything becomes a teachable moment for them, because what one kid may know how to do well, another kid may not know how to do it all.
See it,
and
right?
See, it's beautiful when you can see like they're themselves teaching each other. You're like, okay.
So
you drive it to like, okay, I have to do that.
You're like, yes, you finally got through, and not only one person, but it's
It's spread like wildfire.
Yeah, and
I mean, talk about what they learned.
And I mean, it might not be. You might be saving like 0.5% of like the entire population who are facing, but it helps. It goes a long way. You carry on. You feel fulfilled. The question was, going back to the beginning of your question, was like, what do you tell these kids that are friends? So a lot of the things that I'm seeing that are helpful is having somebody that you could relate to, whether that's not how to a mentor could be considered. Even you yourself could be considered a mentor in the school, because for one of my kids, I have she's a young I have a teacher who is like her he's a school mentor. So when a lot of the issue comes, like he goes to her and they're able to work it out, and then he tells me, oh, this was going on, and then so it's having kind of like somebody there for them at that moment, and kind of like providing that support system. I believe it's like a good way to like not even dealing with it in school, and then dealing with it outside school. So getting involved in like club, getting involved, get your kid involved in just like following something that they're passionate about, whether that's sport, because what we're seeing is a lot of them, they go from home to phone or playing video game at school.
So it's a lot of idle time.
So
they're not getting
social isolation.
Socialization. Like you get that in a team sport.
Yeah.
You get
responsibility, kindness, supporting each other. Me and Manny learned that from running cross country. Discipline, being on things like that. So we're having a lot of kids due to population increasing, things are getting harder, economic. It's everything, a little bit of everything, but they're often find themselves home playing video games 24/7.
Right.
GTA is a huge issue, and I know they don't want to say it, but if you don't know how to manage while your kids are playing, and then maybe we need to educate each and everybody on things such as like it's everything could be triggered.
I'm telling you, you all are hitting on.
It's okay. There's gonna be a part 2 too.
There might be a part 2 because I mean you're hitting on a lot of even some of the other episodes that we've had about sleep, about like you said, monitoring how much screen time you have, the isolation versus community, and again, just to reiterate what you all are saying, focusing on teaching empathy and kindness, discipline. You said discipline with with your time, including them in sports or something that is community. Wendy always says like find your greater good, find your village, find your people. The kids that you all mentor, they're finding their people, thinking they were alone, or maybe not even thinking about it, like, wow, there is someone like me. And so, you guys are doing a good job. I'm pretty sure one of them, maybe 2, 3, 4 years from now are going to say, Mr. Miggy or Mr. Mandy taught me such and such.
The thing about watching the bullier and the bully come together and really like figure out this is not the way. And that is a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. So
wrapping it up.
Yeah.
You guys, so happy you're here. Yes, this is a topic that we may definitely need a part 2 because it's so prevalent and we need to talk.
And it's always, it could be social scale today, but next year you don't know. It could be another. We don't know, but it's definitely a topic that is being underrated at the moment, just because
I don't
of
think schools really.
They're not.
That's
They're
and that's something.
and I wish I had some power to.
I think we all do. I mean, I
But-
talk really about we do, we do. And you know what? That's what this is, right?
Yeah.
We're informing
Empowering,
people, we're
yeah.
empowering, we're encouraging, we're providing a resource, through this conversation that we've had.
So I just want to touch on one last thing. And you guys talked about just the barriers that parents face when they're trying to deal with the topic of bullying. It's
Yes.
it's cultural, it's economics, it's all those kinds of things. But parting words, because we're wrapping it up.
Yes.
What would you want parents to get out of this conversation going forward?
Yes, I want my parents to be there for their kids, and that's by uh, just being involved in every single little thing, such as attend your school meetings,
Mm-hmm.
become
Yeah,
your
feels like yes.
And I'm looking in the camera too
Be-
for any parent that's watching.
Attend the school meetings.
attend your school meeting, because
Be
you
involved.
you never know.
Be involved.
Be involved. Make that one teacher your best friend, so she could look out after your kids. Like, hey, give them your personal
I like
number. Educate yourself. There's free and thousand of community resources that you can educate yourself in topics such as even here through ABH. We welcome our parents to continue educating ourselves, watch our podcast, just utilize the community resources. Don't let them be by themselves. I want parents to like really like start from scratch and kind of like, hey, be there for your kid, and that's like a huge help when it comes to them getting a little bit older, and then not having the ability to confront or have some type of conflict resolution when it comes to dealing with this type of issues. And then that's when like the depression comes, and et cetera. So if you start from a very young age and like become your kid's best friend by educating yourself, and literally when I say be there for everything, if you have a kid who even in high school, parenting control is a huge help. You can manage where they go, what size they're going to, who's talking to them, because I'm for sure they don't want to see their kid go through the downfall just because they were being bullied and school didn't do anything about it. It doesn't get as simple as that. I know it's there, but it doesn't get as simple.
Well, I'm gonna look at my phone because I wrote some pointers earlier. So I think it's a good way to end it. So for my parents, I would just say like don't be a fight in their independence, right? We were talking about how kids have social media and all these other things that people they look up to that they may not even meet ever in real life. But don't be a barrier for your kids and their independence, right? Society as itself has changed, so be for them, be there for them, but don't be a barrier. Let them have space, but not too much space at the same time. Be an active listener to some of the things Miguel was saying. Allow them to fail. We're not perfect. Allow them to fail and to be able to learn from their mistakes. Be able to support them and understand how to avoid harmful ways of coping with some of these struggles we were just talking about earlier. And then stay there with them when they're going through that emotional roller coaster. Be a positive light in it, or a positive light. And then keep lines of open communication, because that would empower them in a long way, and it would benefit more to them than anything else, I would say.
And not only that, but it also helps building that honesty and truthfulness within with the open communication, because that is a huge barrier too that we're seeing when it comes to not having that communication in the household. Being honest, being truthful, kind of like trusting. Like I tell my mom everything to these days. So it just
I can't say that,
but
you can appreciate that closeness and open relationship, communication, and you all bring up so many good points. It's definitely gonna have to be a part two.
Yeah.
Because we could go on and on and on, but the information that you have given us today, your perspective, it's it's a lot to take in, but it's needed. We need to hear it. We need to be reassured.
Yeah. It needs to be a focal point.
Yeah. So,
and here at ABH, we're going to make it a focal point.
Yeah.
It's such a topic that comes up, like you said, every single day in every aspect of our work here. So, why don't we put it on blast, right? And that's what we're going to do.
And so that's what we've done today. We are so glad that you all came by and had this conversation. I feel like we had like a real long, in-depth discussion that should be explored a little bit more. We're midway through the school year, right?
Yes.
So if we had a part 2, or maybe if we had like a summer session of like, hey, how did you make it through the year?
Yes.
After receiving all of these different skills and techniques to kind of like circumvent the bullying, or increase like self-assertion and feel self-esteem and all of those types of things, increasing socialization and conversations with parents. Like that would be a good conversation. That would be a good show, to come back to. But Wendy, any last words before we go?
No, I'm just so pleased with Annie and Miguel dropping through. They're like our second guests that actually came live into our podcast studio here at ABH. So we are very, very excited. We are very happy that you took time out to your busy schedule with our kids to come in and talk about this really hot button topic of bullying.
Thank you for having us.
And
we're more than proud to be talking about bullying and just touch base on other aspects as well. And I didn't think we're here. We're not just well educated on that side, but also personal experience too, life skills and things. So.
Okay, so like I said, I think this is going to be another show, maybe for another time, definitely a part 2. So we thank you all again. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is Danielle.
I'm Wendy.
This is Making a Difference in Mental Health. We were always striving to make a difference in mental health. We will see you next time.